So if you use the conventional calendar and the 3-month cycle of the seasons of the year, we'd officially be in summer. And traditionally, a season of long, sunny days with the odd thunder shower here and there. But it feels as though this year looks slightly different. Instead of clear skies, we've seen consistent and constant severe weather, flash floods, hail, and persistent rain that's left communities flooded and farmers counting losses. Some say the volatility has taken many by surprise. So, what's driving what feels like an unusual pattern? And is this our new summer normal? Let's explain this and the science behind it all, what we can expect for the rest of the season. Professor Willem Landman from the University of Pretoria joining us now. Professor Landman, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Is this really weird? Is this unexpected? They usually say, particularly in the Highveld, you'd always have late afternoon thunder showers. It feels different now.
Well, one thing I can say for sure is that people's memories of how weather had happened in the past are really poor. So I have had a conversation like this almost every season. People say, what's going on this season? It's totally different to what we've seen before. So it's not that different. It's actually kind of what we expected in terms of long-term seasonal forecasts. I'm not going to be particularly talking about climate change when I say long-term forecasting. This is for the next couple of months. And to begin with, we have actually said quite a few months ago that we are going to enter a rather weak La Niña phase. And normally when we have La Niña conditions, now La Niña is a phenomenon that happens like El Nino in the Central Pacific Ocean. It's really far away from here. But when it happens, it actually improves our chances of getting lots of rain, especially over the summer rainfall regions. It's much more difficult to make seasonal forecasts for the Southwestern Cape and even along the southern coastal areas. But over the interior summer rainfall regions, forecasts are actually doing not too badly, especially when we have a La Niña.
Yeah.
This La Niña that we are currently experiencing is weak. Nonetheless, the forecasts have been optimistic towards a more wet season. In fact, if we looked at the 2022 season, it's like 3 years ago, we even had more rain than what we have had up to this point this season. So this season is not so different. It's actually, it's wetter than usual and wetter than average. More rain than average as a result. We have to have more rain to have a total rainfall number that's higher than average. It's actually not that unprecedented, at least.
I think that's actually very important to lay out, because it is our memories that don't last long, and sometimes we just want the sun. That's the problem, right? It's summer, so we expect it to just be warm all the time. You also said, though, that it's a weak La Niña. Does that mean that the severity could be worse because of the situation at present? Because we're showing some visuals now, and it's flooding, there's hail, there's so many other aspects that come to play within it. So does that mean that if we're likening the hailstorms that we're seeing to a weak La Niña, situation could actually be worse?
Yeah, so that is a bit of a dangerous statement to make.
Yeah.
Us scientists are very conservative when we make statements like this. We first have to go and do a bit of research before we can make these kind of general blanket statements. What I can say for sure is that when we have strong La Niñas, the forecasters are just more confident in their forecasts.
Okay.
So that is also something we have to make a difference between the confidence in which we convey the message and what we actually see happening. But for the most part, when we have La Niña conditions, even weak ones, it enhances the chances of getting good rains over the summer rainfall regions. This current La Niña is going to rather go away. It's going to be going more towards a so-called end zone neutral state within the next couple of months. So it's not going to be a La Niña that lasts very long. The forecasts that we have issued up to the end of the season are less optimistic about a continuation, but we have to keep updating the forecast to make sure that this is actually the case. Even though it's less optimistic, the forecasts are not really suggesting in any way that we are going to face a drought in any part of this season. So it looks like, from the interpretation for us forecasters who use models to make forecasts, is that it's going to look like a continuation of a fairly wet season for the rest of the summer months.
Yeah, which can be pretty mixed actually for all those looking at their crops, because you'd need both the rain and the sun in order to be able to do that a little bit better.
You can actually get into a situation where you get too much rain.
Yeah.
And that's also not good for crops.
No, 100%. I was going to talk about what you said a little bit earlier with regards to climate change and the variability that perhaps South Africa is facing or isn't facing. Is any of that clearly visible right now in the weather patterns you're seeing across South Africa?
So in terms of rainfall severity, that is what the climate modelers in terms of the multi-decadal projections are saying to us, that we might see more severe rainfall events. It's not going to become necessarily drier. It might become a bit drier over some areas. But my main concern is the projections of warming temperatures. And that's bad enough. And so we see clear evidence that this is happening. It is actually quite unbelievable that we still have these climate change denialists. It can be quite dangerous if you keep on ignoring the fact that things are warming up. And the warming up is bad enough. So if we look at the projected temperatures under low mitigation, and what does that mean? It means that we are just continuing as we are. In fact, we're doing a worse job than what we are in terms of trying to curb the emissions that lead to climate change. Is that the warming temperatures can actually get us to a situation where the crops don't survive a season. So even if we get enough rain, the temperatures might be so high that it's not going to let the crops survive. And that means we don't have food. That means we all have to go to McDonald's for food. No, just kidding. It means that we are in real trouble. It may not be over the next 10, 20 years for us to actually notice this, but after that, if we don't do something now to try to curb these emissions, I think we're going to get us into a real sticky situation.
Yeah, look, you've said you're a scientist, so I won't draw you onto policy per se, but when one takes a look at what has just come out of the latest COP congregation and conversations, it feels as though the conversation around climate change is weakening ever so slightly. Let's just talk about the impact of climate change that could, and I guess it's an extension of what you've just been speaking about, how big an impact that really could have on a country, whether it be like South Africa or even just third world countries per se, from your experience.
So I think we are playing with fire. I think if we keep on ignoring this problem, and the problem is made so-called less by large, big, loudmouth political voices, especially from the USA, unfortunately, is that I think we are in trouble if we don't start heeding the warning signs. And so to keep on ignoring it is not the right way to go about this. One of the problems is that South Africa is one of the biggest emitters of these carbon dioxide problems. So we are kind of guilty. We have a coal-driven industry. How to fix that? This is a problem because, we have unemployment. So the mines provide jobs. So do we just say, okay, we want to have fresh air, but less people with work? I think a politician in South Africa has got a very tough job. They're getting bombarded from all sides, internationally from the Trump administration, from the people inside South Africa. Poor guys like white oaks like me are getting victimized. It's nonsense. So it's actually becoming quite a problem, and climate change is a kind of a problem that we can do something about as well. So I'm kind of upset that we are keeping ignoring this problem, because it's not nonsense. It's real. It's a real threat. And so come on, please do whatever you have to do to make a plan. We have a generation or two after us that we have to irresponsible for. We can't just continue to delay the problem, or delay the realization that this is a problem. We have to do something. And it's actually quite upsetting that there are still these loud voices that say climate change is a hoax. It's not a hoax. It's a real problem. Come on, do something.
Sure.
The climate scientists can only say what we see in our models and in our research and what we see in observations. We can't really make policy. I mean, this is not our job. Our job is to make sure that our science is credible. And the science of climate change is a credible science.
Professor Landman, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And I think that very last sentiment also perhaps ringing home quite significantly there. Current weather conditions, not completely out of the norm, and also that climate change is changing things quite significantly. Two perhaps primary messages to get out of that conversation with Professor Willem Landman, meteorologist at the University of Pretoria.